guys, welcome to Clockwork, Dan and Noodles for another breakdown of Undead Girl Murder Farce. A really interesting episode because for the first time I thought I had done the true detective work myself. I did notice there was a fault in what one of the characters said. I'm still gonna mention it because it also seems like we just had our reveal right at the end of who it really was, because something doesn't quite line up right, so we'll go through it. I'll express what bit for me didn't quite sit, and then we'll go into the episode, break it down, see all the interesting parts that I thought were really good. The show is definitely shaping up. I wasn't expecting it to be as good as it is. At some point I was expecting them to drop the ball. They don't seem to have dropped the ball just yet, because it means it's going to probably do good in the end of season review. Later this week we've got my full overview video going up. That's where I'm going through all the animes coming our way next season and the things I'm breaking down. I am breaking down 3 shows. There is another show being broken down next season that is a mystery / detective drama type thing. I do wonder if the channel's slowly gearing in that direction, because I do break down a lot of mystery type shows. It does make fun content for me because you guys get to see how wrong I am. We all get to be wrong together, or maybe we figure it out. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. 3 weeks time we are going to have the end of season. If you are not already, please do make sure you guys are subscribed. It really helps us out. You guys have been raising some very interesting points during this show in particular. You guys sometimes pick out things I don't pick out. That's the beauty of a show like this, because you could watch it a few times and pick different things out every time. Let's go straight into it. We do get a very interesting snapshot when we first come in, which was very confusing. We had 3 suspects being tied up. We've got the village leader, and it looked like Zeke was tied up. I'm forever going to call the doctor Zeke now. It's just his name. It would seem that everybody is agreeing that the killings are just too systematic. They're just too organised to be a random wolf attack. It would seem that the villagers did suspect the 3 outsiders, and they tested if they were werewolves by trying to overwhelm those senses. Now, if that is the case, I predict that the artist was among them, but clearly didn't get affected, clearly didn't come out, and it didn't work on them, because they cleared all 3 of these guys with suspicion. Even though they were cleared by the village of not being a werewolf, it doesn't really necessarily clear you of a crime. You can still do crime, team up with whoever is doing the crimes. The village chief gives us the super breeding, selective breeding program, which seems to be what the wolves are up to. It did remind me of what Moriarty is currently doing with Jack. I did notice the similarity there, and whether that's why Moriarty is after them, because he wants to find the super wolf. That would probably have all of the resistance to all the weaknesses, and that's what he roughly wants for Jack. Plot ties in with what Moriarty is doing. Louise was perhaps targeted for revenge. The one who started the wolf chase initially. She's the one who figured out that the girl was a wolf. She didn't expose that, and then that's when the mother came forward. That is when we have the wolf hunt that initially opened this segment. I did initially add a bit of weight to my idea last week that the child had survived. It was her going back for revenge. I still think there could be weight here, but we're going to have to look at all the other evidence, because now we've got a wolf. So Rosa came forward. This is the bit, so it didn't add up. This is the part that didn't add up. Obviously, it's being told by the father. What we are told is Louise was approached in the field by the werewolf mother. You must be my daughter. Hide your ears. This is really peculiar, because you also said that werewolves had really good senses. You can smell your kid. You're a wolf. You know your offspring smell. This is the bit that didn't make sense to me. This bit didn't add up. For the first time, I was like, oh, I've cracked it. This doesn't make sense. The father must be behind it, or he's making up info that doesn't line up, because there's no way a wolf who can smell, has really good senses, would misidentify their child. That's the bit that didn't make sense. It doesn't add up to the reveal at the end, but I thought I would put it in there just because for me that was really weird, and whether anyone else picked up on that. I did feel like maybe this was the fabricated section. And that scene ended up going into our new suspect. Alma, the artist, is the new suspect and the werewolf. She does transform behind her doors, but it seems pretty obvious that it is her. It's very weird. She's a very talented artist, and she ends up lying about her family. I was raised, I did this, this, and this. But then Aya points out that you're not taught artist because you'd be taught a method, and you're holding it like a pencil. Her art is really, really good. I do think she's very talented. I love the way that all the girls are in their pictures. It's a bit scary, the fact that they're all deaf pictures and every single girl is dead, and perhaps according to Alma, she killed them, she ate them. She was drawing Aya at the time, and I know Aya can't die. Her painting her and then what happened at the end, it did seem like she was gunning for Aya, which is really suspicious. She also said, I have no family. That would also be true if, let's say, Alma was the girl who had survived the attack, so she came back. Maybe I could roll it into that. It does feel the people being chosen are chosen for a reason. She also asks about being immortal. I guess most people would ask, what's it like to be immortal? But it just felt a bit weird. She's also the one who gives us the line that Louise went through some interesting changes, which maybe there's a case that the girls got swapped. Maybe Rosa in the woods was pregnant with the man's daughter. Another thing I thought was really strange was Louise's father ended up saying stuff that made it sound like he had a crush on Rosa, yet he was a married man who had a kid. Is it possible he had a kid with both of them and they're both his daughters, which would explain why maybe they smelled the same to the mother? That the reason why Louise found the girl in the end is because they kind of looked the same. I guess the only way they could physically look the same is if at least one parent was the same. Maybe he is the dad and maybe he's covering up and saying, oh, I found her in the woods. I'm not committing adultery or anything. This is me trying to connect the dots and trying to make it still work. Perhaps the girls could have been swapped if they really were different. Maybe they were swapped, maybe they weren't. Maybe we're just both related to each other and Louise was actually the half-sister of the wolf girl because they shared the dad. So Mr. Awesome Hair watching the group, and it means that our boy Moriarty is in the area. Suguru definitely sensed them, but he also reveals to Team Royce a bit later on that they're not in the village or they haven't arrived yet, which is a bit of an interesting one because he also doesn't tell Aya that he sensed the guy there. He definitely did because he made the oh that's weird. Oh nothing happened. I did notice this week that every single scene inside the village was at an angle. Everything was tilted, nothing was straight, which meant something was wrong. Something was being told at a different angle. I do think there's a lot of lying going on. I just don't know who's lying and why they're lying. My theory still holds a little bit of water, but obviously the reveal at the end does kind of throw it on its head, but I'm gonna try and make it work out because there's a few things that I thought I was actually on the money with. It's weird Aya pulls up the family neglecting Louise because that also now helps me try and work out why the father would be neglecting Louise. Maybe he favoured the other child, or maybe the mother didn't like her child because she suspected the child wasn't hers. At this point, I am just reeling off different ideas. Something might stick eventually. We've got a lot of characters that have been mentioned that seem very important. Aya pulling up the fact that Louise was neglected was a very interesting one, especially when they also said she was in the wood about a year ago and she got stuck or something. That would line up with the 1 year ago you guys started to look really tasty thing. Convinced something is going on here. I just can't make it work in my head. But maybe you guys would have figured this out. Maybe it's a possibility that you guys might have missing pieces in my puzzle. Team Royce does appear this week. The height difference, guys. The reason this frame actually works to get all four of them in shot is because someone is really, really short. One with the most fieriest attitude who is short. They are just so fiery. A new name is Short Stack. But there was a weird moment when Zeke seemingly got a little bit overwhelmed sense-wise. Maybe he could be a werewolf. Maybe we still can't rule him out because if Alma was also tested at the start with the villagers trying to overwhelm senses, maybe he's still a werewolf and maybe he's just hiding it. It could just be the fact that he's just welcomed these people into his house. They've literally started a fight, and that's the natural response to having a fight in your house and going, oh my god, you've ruined my furniture. Maybe that's just him. Maybe I just don't like Zeke because he's a beast titan, and maybe that's because he killed my boy Erwin. Maybe I haven't forgiven Zeke. Deep down, this might just come down to me having trauma from Attack on Titan. The next sequence when we have our outright confession, our murderer comes forward. This is so weird for me. It just happens off the bat. We had the howling and stuff and then we see them turn, but we do seemingly get a outright confession that, yeah, Louise has been eaten, she's gone. Something just weird about this. You've just spoken to this person and suddenly you've become a werewolf and now you're running through the forest and you're gold as well. Weird as well that she would mention the fact that she'd seen a werewolf then turn into a werewolf. I don't know, something just doesn't line up. I can't work out why she would just reveal herself. Maybe the case just solved itself, guys. Maybe this is it. All the time the artist has been the werewolf and she's the one who's eating the kids. Maybe. 1 year ago, you guys started to look tasty. Haven't there been multiple attacks in different waves in this village? There's been a series of disappearances. I mean, if it is the case that it's only been people going missing over a year, maybe it is this one, but something just doesn't add up, whether it's timelines. She was the one they suspected last, and she's also the one that is the werewolf. The fight with Suguru is really tense. I actually think it is really cool because the werewolf feels like it's packing mass. Every time Suguru goes in, the werewolf doesn't really move, and I like that. The werewolf is dense. If you went in to try and ram a bear, it's not gonna move. We've got the staccato on the strings being played during a fight, nice and tense. Oddly enough, as soon as the next sequence happened, I just thought Reichenbach falls. When Moriarty fell over the falls, Shizuka falling down the waterfall. But it did seem like the artist was aiming for Aya, and Shizuka obviously loves Aya, and she put herself in the way and manages to hook Aya's cage and flick it at Suguru. Should have been Aya going down the waterfall, and that's why I think it's a bit weird, because the artist seemed to be gunning for Aya. She also painted Aya. Everybody she's painted has ended up dead. Obviously, Aya can't die, but is there a possibility she was trying to get Aya down the waterfall to the werewolf's village for a reason? Maybe she's actually working with them, trying to breed that superhuman wolf or something, and she's just found somebody who is immortal and she wants that herself. Or maybe Team Moriarty is already paired with them. Maybe it's a case that they've been approached by Moriarty, they know about the splicing program, because their goals seem really connected. It's pretty much the same goal. He already is behind it. Maybe he's already working with a werewolf. It's a very interesting episode. I wasn't expecting the werewolf to just show itself, but this is where we are. We have 2 episodes left of this season. We're definitely going to be ending on the end of this case. Maybe it's going to resolve itself. I really am hopeful that we're going to get more material for this show. The show has been surprisingly good. I love it when a show comes out of nowhere. I didn't really have the highest of hopes. I'd seen that the cast was stellar, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm definitely going to break it down, but I wasn't expecting it to be a contender for my top number 1. But I haven't decided yet, so nobody get ahead of yourselves. You haven't figured out the end of season yet. I still haven't wrote it. It is still on my contender list. On the midways, I think I put it 3rd. Jujutsu Kaisen, Zom, and then it was Undead. So 3rd place. It was still on the top 3 for the midways, which is a very strong showing for a show that I didn't really have much faith in or didn't really know enough about. We're going to have to see how I eventually swing when it comes to the end of season. Very interesting show. Really liked it. And I've seen a lot of praise sitting around the internet for this one. Very happy that other people too are enjoying the show. I remember when episode 1 aired, I was really sad because it had a 7.2. The first episode was really strong. It's sitting at a 7.8, so I'm very happy that the score's increased. I think it really deserves the higher score. We will see where it ends up on the end of season review very soon, guys. So thank you guys so much. Do make sure you comment below on what you think is going on whether you think my very loose idea about the girls having the same dad and maybe him being the father. I do feel like there was a slip up or fabrication on that line. Let me know what you think down below. Thank you guys so much. Make sure you're looking after yourselves. Bye bye.